So my name is Megan from Live Music Center, and today's theory lesson is going to be building major scales. Major scales are really important if you ever want to compose music or even just play music. It's a very important thing for you to know. So today we're going to go over all the basics of how to build those major scales and how to identify them when you see them in music. So first we're going to go through some really basic guidelines for when you're starting to build your major scales. Number one is you need to start and end on the same note. So if you start on a B, you have to end on a B. If you start on an A flat, you have to end on an A flat. If you start on an F, you have to end on an F, okay? Real easy. Next one is you can't skip or repeat any notes. So you can't have an F and an F sharp within the same scale. You can't have a G and a G flat within the same scale. You also can't skip any notes. So you can't go straight from a B to a D without including some sort of C in between. You also can't skip from an F to an A without including some sort of a G in between. The next one is don't mix sharps and flats, okay? You can't have an F sharp and a B flat within the same major scale. So either it's going to be all flats within the major scale or it's going to be all sharps within the major scale, but you're not going to mix the two up. They don't go together very well. And then the very last one, this is very, very important to remember, B and C and E and F are half steps, okay? Repeat that a bunch of times to yourself. B and C and E and F are half steps. B and C and E and F are half steps. Every other time you have one letter to the next, for example, G to A, or C to D, or F to G, those are all whole steps. The only place that you have half steps are B and C and E and F. Remember that. It's going to be very, very important. So the next thing that you need to do when you're building major scale, there are 8 notes within a major scale. And the whole steps are between 1 and 2, between 2 and 3. There's a half step in between 3 and 4, a whole step in between 4 and 5, a whole step in between 5 and 6, a whole step in between 6 and 7, and a half step in between 7 and 8. So the pattern ends up looking like this. Dun, 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 dun. 1 and 2, whole step. 2 and 3, whole step. 3 and 4, half step. 4 and 5 is a whole step. 5 and 6 is a whole step. 6 and 7 is a whole step. 7 and 8 is a half step. Okay? Whole step, half step. Whole step, half step. Or you can remember that there's a whole step in between every note except for between notes number 3 and 4 and between notes number 7 and 8. Okay, so now let's talk about some specific letters and some specific scales. Remember how I said B and C and E and F are half steps? All right. When you build a scale starting on the note C, you would start on C, go up a whole step to D, go up a whole step to E. Now remember, E and F and B and C are half steps. We want there to be a half step in between notes 3 and 4. The half step's already built in, 3 and 4. The next one, whole step, and then we want there to be a half step in between 7 and 8, and B and C is already a half step, so it's already built in. That's why the C major scale contains no sharps and no flats. Every single other scale that we do is going to have at least one sharp or one flat in it, if not more. So the next scale is going to be the D major scale. So we start on D, we go up a whole step, up to E, go up another whole step. Now remember, E and F are a half step normally, so we have to go up one extra half step. So instead of going to F, you're going to go to F sharp, which then pushes that ahead just a little bit and puts you at a half step in between F sharp and G. The next one is going to go up a whole step to A, up a whole step to B. And remember, B and C are half steps. So you can't go up to C for the next one because you want there to be a whole step. So instead you go up a whole step to C sharp, which then pushes it a little closer to D, and you have your half step between notes number 7 and 8. Okay, one more time. D, up a whole step to E, up a whole step to F sharp, up a half step to G, up a whole step to A, up a whole step to B, up a whole step to C sharp, up a half step to D. Okay, here's the next one. Starting on B flat. So if we start on B flat right here, remember that there's normally a half step in between B and C. We want there to be a whole step in between our first 2 notes. So B flat up to C is a whole step. C to D is a whole step. Now D to E flat, we want there to be a half step in between notes number 3 and 4, so we can't go up to E natural because that would give us a whole step. So we have to move it back just a little bit and we get an E flat instead. So D to E flat is a half step. Now normally E and F would be a half step, but because we're on E flat, up to F is a whole step. Now F to G is a whole step, G to A is a whole step, and A to B flat is a half step. So there are your very, very basics of how to build major scales in 5 minutes. Congratulations, go build some major scales.